My GF asked me to unfollow IG models, I asked her to unfollow bodybuilders. For clarification, we are not talking about famous models or bodybuilders. We are talking about amateur hobbyists. I say this without judgment but for context. So, the other day she sent me screenshots of a model she thought was sketchy. Her worry was that her family and friends might see some of the models I follow and would think I'm a creep or something. She made a decent point, so I went and unfollowed several accounts without any argument. A few hours later I remembered that she followed a lot of amateur male bodybuilders that my family might be uncomfortable with. I sent her some screenshots and said if I unfollowed models, she should unfollow bodybuilders. After all, what's the difference between a guy posing in a thong and a woman posing in a thong? If one is a sport, the other is an art imo. Anyway, she got immediately defensive, said I'm always going tit for tat, then called me insane for comparing the two. I disagreed and told her that my family would view the bodybuilders like hers would view the models. The conclusion that my family might draw is that she's attracted to bodybuilders and I look nothing like a bodybuilder. She looks, and has pics, that look way closer to a model than I look to a bodybuilder. For some additional context, the reason I follow models is because I work in video and have worked with some, not all, of them before. I also follow male models. She has no professional reason to follow male bodybuilders. She has never competed or went to a competition and follows 0 female bodybuilders. In fact, she says the reason she follows them is because they found her IG on dating apps when she was single and she just followed back, as if that's supposed to make me feel better. After a long argument she still thinks I'm wrong to compare her request to mine. I can't force her to remove anyone and I'm not going to break up with her over this, but I feel disrespected and it hurts. How should I handle the situation? Am I wrong and I just can't see it? Comment. She should respect your wishes as you have respected hers whether or not she agrees, it's as simple as that. It doesn't have to even be the same, but it's something you feel and wish for just like she did. It's reasonable. Also it is exactly the same. The end. I think it's fair and equal. That being said, I would pay not to have to see some person in the gym taking selfies and hogging the machines just to get the perfect shot. It's like a very diluted version of you both asking each other not to cheat, one of you agrees and the other says you're always going tit for tat and doesn't agree. This case of following various people is super mild, but fair is fair, either you should both allowed able to follow hot people or neither of you, and either is okay, it should just be reciprocated. Her reaction to your request is a red flag. If it's an isolated incident then it's okay, but with asking you to unfollow models seems like a controlling behavior. This is a hill to die for. I don't say break up, but don't say yes at every request she makes while she doing the opposite of what you ask. I think, and she might be wrong, that she thinks you don't actually care and you are just doing this to be petty and that you have a history of being petty and going tit for tat. So I think, if you haven't already, focus the conversation on the fact that it actually does bother you and why she feels like you are constantly doing tit for tats. That is no way to have a relationship. I am not saying you do that, but your girlfriend does. That should be discussed. I wouldn't ask someone to do something that I wasn't willing to do myself. Sounds like you have a more valid reason for following certain accounts. Perhaps she stated following said accounts due to jealousy. I wouldn't be mad at myself for doing something I'm actively engaging in either. Stand your ground as your feelings and requests are valid. I don't think what you're asking is a big ask at all, and the fact they follow her because they thought she was single is even more of a reason for her to unfollow them. TBH, I don't either of you two should have to do this, but she is the one who made this a big deal, but is unwilling to follow her own request? My questions is, where does this end? Will she tell you not to be around any females in person but will give every excuse in the book not to stop hanging out with other guys in person? She needs to put her money where her mouth is. You are completely in the right, they are equivalent requests. In fact, based on your comment of knowing some of the models, you have more justification for following them in the first place. My response to her would be that your request needs to be respected like her request was. If your request is ignored or she argues again, then just re-add the models on IG. She is ridiculous. Side note, if she is incapable of seeing the double standard here, this will certainly rear its ugly head again in the future. Both are not quite naked people putting themselves on public display. Any other discrepancy by category is academic. The fact that these guys followed her for personal reasons blows her argument out of the water. Anyone who was trying to chat her up for a prospective date gets unfollowed for reasons having nothing to do with what they look like. You frankly should treat her continuing to entertain contact with these guys as equivalent to maintaining a Tinder account. Honestly, it's not even the bodybuilders part that's the big deal. It's that they met off dating apps. Men who followed me off dating apps, I didn't follow back, contacted me even while I was in a relationship, posting about it, and wouldn't respond to them. They'd still keep at it? So it's pretty disrespectful for her to follow these men she knows are into her and they're posting similarly nude things as the models you followed. Next story 2. My wife cheated on me for 2 years with a guy from another country. I really just need a place to organize my thoughts. I found out a few days ago and I cannot bring myself to talk to any of my friends or family about this. We have been together 8 years and married for 3. Our relationship has been very good, strong, and I trusted her like I have never trusted anyone before. I previously lived with a girl in my 20s for 4 years, she cheated on me, I found out, we stayed together another year and I lost all respect for myself. I was on and off single for 5 years, and toward the end I was feeling pretty lost and worthless. When I met my wife I still had trust issues, and whenever it came up she would get pretty angry and upset, saying that she is not my ex and it isn't right that I act like I can't trust her. My wife is from a non-Western culture and is expected to marry one of her own people. She went through so much guilt and grief from her family when she introduced me to them. Her family was quite nice to me and accepted me right away, on the outside at least. Often though over the years it would come up what a horrible thing she has done by being with me, over and over this happened. After a number of years they were comfortable enough with me to let this vile, racist crap boil out in front of me or directly at me. By the time we got married it was all just sort of a dull simmer of abuse but manageable, and it turned into when are you going to finally have kids? After 5 years of watching her endure this and stand by my side, I felt restored. I felt like a real person again, I had worth, someone loved me for who I am. I trusted her with my life. I did not once snoop through her things or her phone or anything. We got married. Less than a year later her dad passed away from cancer. She took it quite hard, she felt she didn't visit him enough toward the end and the guilt was hard for her. I don't want to get too specific here but her culture and people are being oppressed back home, things are bad. Both of these things led her to take time off work to cope. She was off for about a year. After a few months she happened to join a social app and connect with some of her people are the world, they formed a tight group. I know what everyone is thinking now. This group seemed to really help her, and during her year off it seemed like she had her headphones in almost 24/7, yes while she slept. I don't understand the language so all I hear is lots of talk and laughter. This continues for almost 3 years now. At certain points it really starts to get to me, always having to repeat things I say or get straight ignored. She will turn and ask me something and I just get so pissed off that she thinks I am just on standby at all times to hear and respond to her, but not the other way around. It felt like being with someone who is always surrounded by people, and you have to fight for a sliver of attention. The group is a mix of men and women. I start to become insecure, she is going to catch feelings for one of these guys for sure. She assures me it isn't the case and it's always a mixed group, never one-on-one. You're right, I think. One night her phone connects to my headphones, I think I was using her spare AirPods, and it's a guy asking if she is still awake. Creepy, and I ask her what that is, and for the first time in 6 to 7 years I ask her if something is going on. Nope. We are just watching World Cup, hence the middle of the night. Last year I noticed $1,000 was transferred out of our account somewhere. I ask her what that is, not thinking much of it really as we are always shuffling money around. She admits she sent a guy in her group money to help him out, he is in Europe, refuge, no fam, she felt she should help her community. Okay, but why is that a secret? She knew I would be mad. Okay, well that doesn't make that okay in a marriage. We move on, he is gonna pay it back. Lately work has been really hard, I run a business with employees and the UPS and down and threat of total failure has me at the end of my rope some days. I lost my dog in February 15th years, my boy. I have some other family issues on my side with aging parents, this has been a tough year and I secretly break down often on my drive home. In a weak moment when my wife is out I decided to look at her phone, she has a second iPhone that she leaves on her desk. I just check her camera roll for nudes. Nothing. But I see screenshots of texts to a money sending app support. She is having trouble getting transfers through. To summarize, she sent $6,000 to our refuge friend in Europe. A bunch of separate transfers. What a betrayal. We are trying to start a family. I managed to get into the deleted photos. There are a bunch of texts to a guy, it isn't English but it seems important to her, with edited circles and things. One blurb in English stands out and it's talk of pouring her heart out and feelings and stuff. I spend an hour trying to CSI translate and use OCR to grab the non-Latin characters to dump into a translator. I miss you, I still love you. Something about 2 weeks and sleeping together, but the translation was fuzzy. My heart. My life is a joke. I realized she had told me about a couple she knows that had issues and she was supporting the girl. These must be screenshots of that girl's troubles. When my wife got home I was so flat. The money thing was real, I knew. I didn't want to admit that I snooped, but I had to know. I asked if the guy paid us back. Not yet. Did you send him more? Pause. Yes. How much? I got a few different low amounts. I reveal what I know. She confirms. I ask why. She gives me a speech about feeling like an ant of the group, and wants to help out. I ask about the other couple that was fighting, what was their names? It doesn't match I still love you guy. I am caught off guard. Okay, well, who is? That's the guys from Europe, she says. Oh. These two separate betrayals are now one big one. I decide to just bring up the screenshot and show her. She just reads with a face like, I can sort this out. After a long pause she just looks at me and says, I don't know what to say about that. And we just stare at each other. I cannot even describe the feeling of looking at my wife in the dim light of that moment. She had been talking with this guy, getting closer for 2 full years, almost our whole marriage. She had been sending him thousands of dollars. She went to Europe for a course 2 months ago, they slept together. She tells me she did it for closure. They knew they couldn't be together, so she just had to see him and it's done. How could any sane person say that is the case? And something that just kills me, he was probably talking in her ear for years while we were living our lives, doing our thing. This evil ghoul whispering to her right next to me. Like I said though, our relationship was good. My family loves her, my friends love her. If I tell anyone it's just all shattered forever. We were days away from starting IVF and having a baby. I am literally nothing without her, I have no past, no future. I do not know what to do, I have no one I can talk to. I have to go home each night to our home, and I hate that the decision is up to me here. The world has no idea about any of it. Comment. But the relationship isn't good. You only thought it was good because she was lying and keeping things from you. This kind of trauma can be really damaging and therapy can help. My suggestion is to prepare yourself to get out of this. Staying should not be an option, long term. You deserve better. And you also will need to tell the people that are important to you that she had been cheating throughout your marriage so they can provide the support you need. The ones that don't help, distance yourself from. The Surviving Infidelity sub can be helpful. I don't know how else to say this, but there is a ton of stuff she has done that you are not yet aware of and will come to light in the future. Prepare yourself for it. And acknowledge that she's not who you want her to be. Oh gosh, I'm sorry this is happening to you. Please get some counseling, even if it's just some form of online type thing. You should examine why you would have stayed in a relationship with someone who seemed perfectly comfortable in a space where others were so hateful to you. She doesn't sound very kind. It's time someone was kind to you, so please be kind to yourself. She's from Middle East or Asia, PLS give her silent treatment for as long as you can, make her life a furnace she cannot get out of, and also stop her access to funds and if possible get her family involved. It will really make her panic. There are other things too, but this is just start. Stop her access to funds immediately. That should have been done after the first secret transaction. Get a lawyer, divorce her and let her go home or wherever her European lover is. All it takes for an emotional affair to become physical is opportunity. Traveling to Europe solo and sleeping in the same bed, it doesn't get more opportune than that. You'll heal, friend, and there's plenty of people out there who won't. You're over. I know this is all easier said than done, but you need to start somewhere. Stop access to monies and get a lawyer. Like yesterday. I'm absolutely positive you can find someone for that. Jokes aside, then get a lawyer and get those papers rolling. The faster you get it started, the faster you can get her out of your life and begin to heal. It's gonna take time, but unless you want to continue living this way, you have to get started. It's obvious she doesn't give a about your relationship, so why should you? Other than of course, getting the hell out of it.